Today's episode of the BCC Club is sponsored by Cook Unity. With Cook Unity, you get affordable restaurant-quality food from award-winning chefs delivered to your door. There was a day last week that I could not get my life together in any capacity, and then it was lunchtime, and I was like, oh great, I'm gonna do yet another thing today to disappoint me in myself, which is order takeout. And then I remembered, oh my God, I have a seared shrimp and quinoa bowl waiting for me from Cook Unity in my refrigerator. If you're vegetarian, if you're trying out keto, if you're gluten-free, don't worry. Cook Unity has such a wide variety of meals for all different dietary needs. Avoid the takeout trauma with Cook Unity. Affordable food crafted by award-winning chefs delivered to your door. Go to cookunity.com/BCC or enter code BCC before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using code BCC or going to cookunity.com/BCC.
Welcome to the chain.
We're your hosts. I'm Kendahl and Sarah.
And I'm Sarah Shower, and this is the BCC Club, where each week we go down an internet rabbit hole. What hole are we getting into today?
We're talking about microplastic surgery. Also, I gotta say my hair's wet because I just took a shower.
I think you're
greasy.
No, I never thought greasy.
Okay, we can continue. I just wanted to be clear. Yeah, because it's like at that point of wetness where it's like, well, it doesn't look like soaking wet. So
yes,
it kind of just looks like it's greasy, but it's not. I'm very clean.
I understand. If your shirt looked a little bit dirty, I would maybe have thought grease. But since everything else, Kendall's hair is drying, you know?
That's so funny because it's crazy to think that if I hadn't showered, I'd also be like, and I'm going to put on a pair of dirty clothes.
Well, I mean, you already were wearing them, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm like a really bad place. I just haven't showered or changed my clothes in weeks.
Well, I mean, we all kind of get different. Places in our life.
Right.
Sometimes. But, I was going to say, it's not microplastics. That would be something that I don't know. I mean, I know that they're in your bloodstream and we're pretty much all doomed, right?
Right.
But I don't know much about microplastics. But microplastic surgery, a.k.a. the Undetectable Era.
Which is I feel like we're coming to learn most people have.
Yes.
So much plastic surgery. I feel like people, what you do, you can tell, and we'll get into this later, but it's movies sometimes aren't hitting, not all movies, but there's certain movies that come out that I'm like, this is not hitting the same because the character is supposed to be a disheveled, worn down factory worker, but it's played by someone like Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
This is not a real example.
You're like, no.
But you can just tell, I don't know what it is about you, but something, it's almost like Uncanny Valley where you're like, you're not like a real person.
Yeah. Wait, speaking of Uncanny Valley and kind of in the opposite direction. So autistic people can be very animated, but for a large portion, there's a lot of flat affect going on. So it's kind of more unnatural for an autistic person to raise their eyebrows a lot.
So your skin probably looks incredible.
And so the thing is and so sometimes I'll watch The Real Housewives and I'm like, are they autistic? And it's because they've had so much Botox.
I was going to say, I think I cracked the case for you there.
No, there's so much Botox that it's reading as such a flat affect that if it's seeing it so consistently, it's something is reading as autistic to me.
Right.
And I'm not saying that, all autistic people have no smile or frown lines. It's just I don't know. Now sometimes when I watch it, I'm like,
it is wild. It's very much when you watch the Kardashians, it's similar where it's they will just be and then he died. Isn't that crazy? And you're like, how are they all? They're talking about this the same way they talked about getting a flat tire or having their coffee order wrong. They talk about everything kind of in the same tone.
Yeah.
And nothing ever goes up or down and their face stays the exact same.
Yeah. And that is and the thing is that thing sort of since they're so popular, I wonder how that's affected mass culture in terms of how you learn from people, whether whatever, but to have such a flat affect when you're talking about death or divorce.
Yeah.
Even if the person knows that you have Botox, unconsciously, are they does this not really matter?
Right.
You know, and so now you're questioning, is death really the end all? But yeah. So it's just, we're going to talk about, the microplastic surgery. So it's, tiny bits of plastic surgery that make all the difference. It's like over time.
Oh yeah. Well, and also you think about I feel like I think about plastic surgery and you think of big stuff. Like I'm like, oh, big honkers.
Yeah.
Huge butt.
Massive.
Just massive.
Yeah.
Like cheekbones that look, you feel like you can tell.
Yes.
And we're kind of in this new, which I've always said because I was like, there are people like J-Lo.
Uh-huh.
Jennifer Aniston, both Jennifers.
Yes.
That I'm like, you have this is alleged by just me. This is not a true fact, but I'm like, you must have a plastic surgeon that just works on you. Like I feel like those two people have plastic surgeons that they pay $50 million to $100 million a year.
Yeah.
And that person doesn't work on anyone else. And they're like this, because you cannot tell they've had plastic surgery.
Yeah.
And so people, famously with both of them are just like, God, how are they the age they are? And I'm like, because they're getting plastic surgery that's not even available to anyone else.
Yes.
Even other huge celebrities. Like they're not getting it.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated. But before we get into it, how was your week, Sarah?
It was good. And then also, first off, the person who I thought was going to adopt Georgia, we did have to take her back because she was meowing a lot, and I guess that became too overwhelming. And so I did try to tell I'm not mad by any means. It's a very lovely people that were really interested in Georgia. But she's not spayed just yet. Like she's on a waiting list because we have 6 cats and it's all starts to add up. So you get on waiting lists. But so she's always in heat, and so she'd meow really loud to the point of screaming. We did talk to a vet, and they recommended a certain type of CBD, which really helped. But now we're back at 6 cats. Oh. Also, I did jury duty last week.
You did get it?
I got dismissed from it, but not for the reason that I thought. So I love... one of my favorite things is during a class is when there's icebreakers, right? And obviously that doesn't happen in jury duty, but they do interview jurors. And everyone was just so interesting that my face, I'd be smiling super big, or someone would say something weird and I'd be pantomiming, scratching my head. And I know that I'm not supposed to. I know that's so, but the thing is,
there's so many people who probably were in there that were like, I'm on the new season of jury duty. Because this juror is this has to be an actor.
But I was just so everyone, and I know that you're not supposed to communicate during jury duty, but it was almost like my body was trying to release.
Yeah, your body was they didn't say nonverbal communication.
Yeah, but I think that's what got me dismissed. But also, I think I was way too literal. This is not part of the case, and I'm not going to discuss that. But and this is before that happened. But the judge asked everyone, are you a lawyer, and that sort, or are you friends with a lawyer? Is this something that could negatively, bias sort of the case? It's a question that they ask all the time. And everyone, people were like, oh, I know a lawyer, blah, blah, I am a lawyer, whatever. And at the end, I raised my hand and I was like, I have a lawyer, but I don't know if we're friends. And
you're sobbing. I feel like I'm really close with him, but I just sometimes he doesn't reach out how much I want.
And so I wanted to be if I were to be biased, I'd have to pay to ask him questions about the case. And they're like, okay, so you know a lawyer. And I was like, yes, I know a lawyer. And that's, I got dismissed before I heard but it was just, I got dismissed, yeah.
Did you feel rejected?
Yes, because I was so interested in the process. Normally, when you hear jury duty, but it was perfect. Wake up early, get ready. Then while I was waiting, I got to read my book and, chit chat, but there was an expectation of really getting to know each other. So I was like, that is perfect. And then we got into the jury room and I was up, in one of it just there
is an expectation of people getting to know each other?
No, there is no.
Oh, there is. I thought you were they expect you to really get close. No, I was wait, what? Why?
No, but I and then I think it was me being way too animated in my seat.
I get that.
It reminded me of when you're filming something in the background, the actors the background actors are too
right.
What?
Right.
Huh?
Yeah.
That was me. So I got dismissed. And then what else happened?
Truly? I would love to see a video of this. So could you bring your phone in, or did you have to not have your phone out?
I originally didn't bring my phone in because every time I've been to a courtroom, they said never bring your phone in court. And then when everyone was waiting, I saw them all on their phone, and I was like, okay, so when I go to lunch, I can go get my phone. And I went to go get my phone, and then, They
said, you actually don't have to come back.
No, yeah, they dismissed me right after lunch. I was like, oh.
Yeah, oh my God.
But yeah, also the fact that they ask your occupation, and I was like, well, I'm a content creator / influencer, and everyone, it just, yeah.
Doesn't it always feel so weird when you have to, like, I feel like I was just going through like some political website for something, and they always ask like what and I'm like, it feels so like I'm a kid being like, I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
Where they're like, put your real job.
I'm an astronaut.
Yeah, and that's how it always feels. It's just like, this is not even a real occupation, but it is.
Oh wait, I would actually love like a sit down segment where we talk to like an astronaut or like an astrophysicist, because like I feel like when they say their occupation as well, people think they're joking.
You're right. I'm an
astronaut.
Are
you an astronaut? Yes.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple things. Well, there's just some things that feel like a joke. Like when someone's like, I'm a firefighter. I'm like, oh, wow. We live in the 50s and there's 3 jobs, nurse, firefighter, and police officer. Like it feels like you're talking, or like someone's like, I'm a police officer. I'm like, okay, Andy Griffith. Like what? Like get a real job.
Where's your gun?
Right. It just feels so like a caricature, like what would be on a kid's TV show of a job.
Oh, yeah. Wait, so how was your week?
My week was good. What did I even do? Well, I went to Not Scary Farms. Which was a blast.
Oh, is that Not Scary Farms, but their Halloween theme?
Yes, and I felt really bad because, my fiance Jordan is very into spooky stuff. They love Halloween. We've been decorated for Halloween for like a month at this point. Like they really love it year round. Like their Christmas gifts are all spooky stuff. So, but they've never wanted to go to like Halloween Horror Nights or Not Scary Farms. Like they're like, it's gonna be too scary for me.
Yeah.
I don't think they like being immersed in it, or they thought they wouldn't. But our friends invited us to this, and they thought it was the Not Spooky Farm, which is a kids event where they have like the Peanuts characters dressed in like Halloween outfits.
Yeah.
So Jordan kept like, but I didn't know what this was. So Jordan kept being like, well, wait till we see Charlie Brown in his little outfit. And I was like, what?
You thought they were making a joke the entire
time. Yeah, I
time.
kind of was just like, okay. And then eventually I was like, they were like, oh, they sent the time and it's really late. I was like, yeah, it's really scary. I don't know. And they were like, oh my God, is it the adult one? I thought we were going to the kids one. And they're like, we're so scared.
Yeah.
But they had the time of their life. Like I don't know what they thought was going to happen. I think they thought someone was going to like pour a bucket of cockroaches on them. I was like, no, this is like a very regulated event where their children go to this. It's not really that crazy. But it was so fun. They had the best time ever. I got a cocktail that came in a blood bag.
Okay.
Called Zombie Juice.
Yes. Which
I love a themed anything. I felt like they really themed everything.
Yeah.
Which I've been to Halloween Horror Nights and I feel like it's not as fully themed out as Not Scary Farm was.
Yeah.
Which I love. So we went through all the mazes, which was crazy because I was expecting us to have to go through one maze.
Yeah.
And then wait in line for 3 hours. But it wasn't like that. You waited like 5 minutes for each house.
Yeah. Oh.
It's always scary, I will say. Being on the internet and going through houses sometimes is scary because people like know who. Have you been through one?
No.
If you did, people like will recognize you.
They're scaring the shit out of you. Kendahl and Sarah.
Yeah, well, that is, but they like stay in character. So I get like followed a lot, or like, and then they'll be like Kendahl, and it's like really, which is so stupid because you think that would take me out of it. You think I'd be like, oh, it's less scary because now I know this is a person who like watches my videos, but it actually makes me more scared because I forget. I'm not like thinking that, so I'm just like, this demon knows me because she's inside of me.
She sees something in me.
She sees something in me, and it's very scary but very fun. So I did that. I got a really good hot dog.
Hell yeah.
And I got a blue slushie.
That's amazing.
And it was awesome.
I always want to go to those things, but I get so sad for the scary, spooky actors when they scare someone and people don't react. and I want to, and I know it's like makes it worse if I were to go up to them and be like, I think you look terrifying.
Right.
Actually, this is actually a perfect thing for your mom character.
Yeah.
Like,
are so scary.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I was like, there was a couple of people that because some people take big swings with their costumes, you know, and I don't know if they come up with them themselves. I'm sure probably not.
Yeah.
But in my head, they like come up with them on their own. And so there was this one guy who was dressed as like a scary bird.
Yeah.
And it was just like not scary. And I turned to my friend and was like, it really could have gone either way though. Like I'm sure in his head, he was like, or whoever thought of this costume was like, that will be so scary.
Well, some people are afraid of birds.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But it just was not scary. But even like, I'm really afraid of spiders. And there was a spider themed house that I almost didn't go into because I'm really afraid of spiders. But I went in there and it was like adults dressed as spiders, which I was like, yeah, that's not scary.
Yeah.
Because I honestly was kind of hot. A couple of them I was like, pop off, you look really good. But yeah, some of them aren't scary. But I'm just always amazed that no one ever, I'm sure they do. But I feel like I'm surprised there's not a lot more like arguing and fighting and like police being called because they will jump so close to you.
Yeah.
And I know you're like not supposed to touch them.
Yeah.
But it's so like a normal human reaction to like, and that's I think what was Jordan was so scared of it. So they were like, I'm really scared that one of them is going to jump up and I'm going to like by accident punch them in the face because my instincts just like make me do that. And obviously that didn't happen, but I'm like, I'm sure that does happen. And even at one point I was walking and I turned and a guy was like behind me. And so I didn't elbow him hard.
Yeah.
My elbow like hit him in the head just lightly because I was turning.
Yeah.
And it was really, he clearly didn't care, but then he kept trying to scare me and I kept being like, I'm so sorry, I hit you in the head with my elbow, I didn't mean to. And he like kept trying to scare me and I was just so stressed out he was gonna like sue me. I don't really know what I was afraid of, but I'm just surprised more drama like that doesn't happen because they'll get really close to you. Today's episode of the BCC Club is sponsored by Cook Unity. And let me tell you what, it's a tale as old as time, me saying, I gotta stop eating out so much. I have to stop eating out so much. Why do I say it every single day and then every single night I order something for delivery? That is where Cook Unity comes in. With Cook Unity, you get affordable restaurant quality food from award-winning chefs delivered to your door. Go to cookunity.com/BCC or enter code BCC before checkout for 50% off your first week. And I'm telling you, after that first week, you're going to say, how did I go any weeks before this without using Cook Unity? There was a day last week that I could not get my life together in any capacity. And then it was lunchtime. And I was like, oh, great. I'm going to do yet another thing today to disappoint me in myself, which is order takeout. And then I remembered, oh my God, I have a seared shrimp and quinoa bowl waiting for me from Cook Unity in my refrigerator. If you're vegetarian, if you're trying out keto, if you're gluten-free, don't worry. Cook Unity has such a wide variety of meals for all different dietary needs. Avoid the takeout trauma with Cook Unity. Affordable food crafted by award-winning chefs delivered to your door. Go to cookunity.com/BCC or enter code BCC before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using code BCC or going to cookunity.com/BCC.
Oh yeah, I think they probably have to sign a waiver at some point. Like, hey, you are scaring people, and this is a really fun job, but you have to be realistic. Some people will piss themselves and hit you.
Piss on you and hit themselves. Yes. Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah. It was a good time.
Well, hell yeah. Also, it's September 24th right now, but it's Libra season, and my birthday is October 5th, and I'm gonna be 30.
Wow. How do you feel about being 30?
I feel good about it. I feel like when I dress up in a juicy tracksuit, I'm like, I was meant to be 30.
That's how I feel too. I'm like, I feel like my 20s don't feel like 20. I feel like I'm in my 30s. I don't feel 20 in my 20s at all. I
don't know. The not being gay thing really does help. No, the not being surprise. No, the not being straight thing really does help because I was just talking to Rebecca about this. Like you can, like there's so much of the gay community that's like freeze your eggs, freeze your sperm. Yeah. Surrogates, adoption, that like after listening to it, like not like super in depth, but I'm like, there's actually, I mean, we're fine. Yeah. If I'm 30 and someone's like, are you worried about your eggs drying up? I'll be like, I could freeze them. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I freeze mine?
Yes, you should freeze your eggs.
Right now?
Yeah, I mean, at least a couple.
At least can I do, I'm like, how much is it to do two? Like, it's not how it works. Maybe it is how it works. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number of eggs you have is very limited, but.
I don't know if I'm even can have, but I guess it doesn't matter because even if I can't have kids, if I freeze my eggs.
Why wouldn't you be able, actually, that's personal?
No, it's okay. But I don't know, but I went to a doctor one time because I have lupus. Mm-hmm. So I know there is like a lot that has to do with like lupus and having kids. What that is, I don't really know. I haven't researched that much because I'm not really like thinking about having children right now. But I know there is like it's riskier to have kids. But then when they did a blood test, he also was like, you have a he was like, we would have to test more for it, but it seems like if you did get pregnant, you would like, you have this thing, I don't remember what it was, but you would like probably have a miscarriage. Oh. And I was like, oh, okay. But I like didn't really think about it because I was like 20 years old and was like, I'm not gonna have a kid. But I'm like, if I froze my eggs, I guess I could keep them in a jar or something, or have a secret kid.
They would like put it in like a cryogenically frozen
freezer.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I thought you'd think is fun is I just ordered have you seen these all over TikTok? They're like a blind date with a book.
Yes.
I just got one that's like Halloween themed.
Yeah.
So it comes with like a Halloween face mask and it's like all wrapped up in this like, and I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh. I had a joke that I wanted to do about that, but it's so specific to that. Like the idea of doing like those, they wrap up the books, you can't see it ahead of time. But like if it was like nonfiction and it would just be like, I don't know.
That is funny where it's just like a book, like a textbook about heart conditions or something where you're like, oh, I don't really want to.
Oh, perfect. I guess I'd smoke.
Yeah.
Time to freak myself out with a glass of tea.
I go really hard with Halloween. Any theme. I love like the holiday, like, Christmas time. Yeah. Or Halloween time. I like do all the stuff. Like even the other day I went to get ice cream with my friend. Yeah. And I was like, they had like this seasonal flavor that was like sweet potato. It was really good. But it was like sweet potato and I like didn't really want it, but I like got it because I was like, it's the seasonal flavor. And I was like, I want to be like walking because it was kind of crisp outside. And I was like, well, it's so crisp outside and I have to walk and be like eating something that tastes kind of seasonal. Yeah. And I like get this book and I like anytime there's any activity I like that's like Halloween themed, I like buy it to do in front of my Like I'm just obsessed with doing all the holiday stuff. Sorry I burped, you guys.
You're good. Cool. You're good. Decoration is so it's going to sound weird, but like environment really does make your experience. Oh yeah. And so like if you feel good in your environment, then decorate, dude. I
know. It's nice. We decorated early, which at first made me feel, kind of nuts, but it's better because we decorated like early September. And now I feel like I kind of started celebrating the spooky season early. Yeah. And I feel like I have time to do all the stuff I want to do. Like I already went and did the Not Scary Farm. I made a spooky little dinner. I did there's a bunch of stuff I've done and I just today I love making gingerbread houses. It's like my favorite thing on earth. And I'm pretty good at it. And I just got like a Halloween gingerbread house to make. Yeah. But it feels like usually like last year, it's like you decorate in October. And I was just like, by the time it was Halloween, I was like, I didn't do any of like the stuff I wanted to do. Yeah. Because I didn't have enough time. But I feel like starting in September, you really get it all done.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Christmas. Like everyone's like, oh, it's Christmas Day. No, you're supposed to really get into the season.
Because I don't do really anything on Halloween Day. You could not catch me outside of my house. Like, I am not going I one year tried to go to a Halloween party, and we had to buy tickets to it. And we got there, and the line went around the block 2 times. And we just went to a ramen restaurant. And we were like, we're not doing this. And the same with Christmas. It's like, I love the holidays and doing all the holiday stuff. But the second it's like the 25th, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like how friends to lovers in books. Like, the build-up is mainly what everyone's there for. When they get together, you're like, well, they did it, but...
What do you like more, friends to lovers or enemies to lovers?
Enemies to lovers.
Oh, yeah.
Because you saw all their flaws and loved them regardless.
I hate a friends to lovers book, genuinely. And it's like all I read is like romance, pretty much. I hate them so much. I'm like, what's the plot? Like, the plot is just it's like normal dating. It's like, oh, they met each other and like hit it off. And then slowly they decided they should be together. And I'm like, I need the two people to like hate each other. So like, I want one of them to have like murdered the other's family. Yeah. And hate each other so much. And then be like, we're so attracted to each other. Like, that is so fun. Yes. Where you're like, I don't even know how they could date each other. They hate each other so much. Because I feel like friends to lovers is so boring. Maybe that's just for healthy, secure people to read. I don't really know, but it feels so boring to me.
I like when people front all of their negative qualities because it feels honest. I know that in a book, it's like make-believe, it's friends to lovers. But in real life, I can't like immerse myself in something if it's not somewhat reasonable. Because usually this is maybe my twisted view of like a lot of friendships, but sometimes like I don't know. I'd rather like know every issue you have up front or the murder that you've committed.
Yeah.
And then we work on, we fight, and then, you're not actually, we are not defined by our bad deeds. Right. You've done bad things, but you're not a bad person.
They are bad, but they're so hot that it's fine. You know what I mean?
As long as it's purely physical.
No, I know. Yeah. I just like, even like the book I'm reading, I also like hate when it's like a miscommunication thing. I just think it's so hard to like get into, like I'm reading a book right now where it's like they both like each other so much, but when it goes to each other's POV, they're like, I just know she's like thinks I'm so ugly. And I'm like, what is this? Like this wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Or it would happen if you were like really young and like very insecure, which I'm like, you shouldn't be getting in a relationship.
No, you've got to invest in yourself. Speaking of investing in yourself, we're going to be talking about the Undetectable Era with our first article from Dazed Digital. We are about to enter the, quote, undetectable era of beauty. And this started with Christina Aguilera's recent appearance. It sparked discussion about a new era where cosmetic procedures are imperceptible, raising questions about what this means for beauty standards, aging, and mental health. Yes. So if you guys have quick pull over on the side of the highway, look up a picture of Christina Aguilera right now. She looks almost 20 to 23 years old, and I'm not like being like she like.
Yeah. How old is she?
I
can look it up.
43. So what people are doing to their face in the next year is going to blow you away, said plastic surgeon Dr. Prem Tripathi proclaims, referencing the video of Xtina that's in this article. The time in aesthetics that we've all hoped for and waited for, where the procedures that people are having done to their face are not detectable. Speculation in the comments make the whole scene, this is for the video, make the whole scene seem even more like the plot of a sci-fi film. It's tempting to dive into the vortex of unsolicited online speculation over what Christina has done to her face, or as many people want to know, who her surgeon is. Their earnest curiosity about what list of undetectable procedures could realistically entail, because this latest iteration of physical evolution is something new. It feels uncanny to see cosmetic work devoid of any of the telltale signs we've become so accustomed to, but a larger question looms. If this is the new era of beauty, what does that mean for all of us? Yes.
God, I'm watching this video on that article of Christina, and it's like, she looks so young. It's like, I mean, she literally looks 18 years old.
Oh, yeah.
That is so scary.
There is this, I have this research article. This is actually a scholarly article, and we don't have to get into it, but we can get into it later. So it's called change blindness, and it's usually where if something happens so incrementally, right, you're not like registering it. Like, it's like, I mean, it's like how dudes will like take love and away and away and away, and then you're like, I'm giving 100 and he's giving 0.
Right.
It's because he did it so incrementally that like you didn't notice. But when it comes to the realm of plastic surgery, what do you think this means for beauty in the coming years?
Me?
Yeah.
I feel like though it's going to be more intense, but I feel like it's always been like, there's so much available to rich people that is so even unknown to other people. Mm-hmm. And then they try to hold themselves to those standards. I even think with like, you know, people are like, I want to be in the same shape as XYZ celebrity. Yeah. But that celebrity like has a personal trainer that lives in their house and a personal chef that makes them like catered meals, that they're nutritionists. Like it's so wild. And then they're also on some like crazy medication that is only given to like 5 people that was made in space or something. I don't know. So it just feels like a similar thing, but heightened, I guess. But I do think it's kind of it's a bummer too, because I also think it's going to like eventually be, sorry, I'm reading this and thinking, I just think it will also, it's going to start to look like bad. I know this sounds stupid, but I even think like you look at someone who ages like naturally. Like I think people are like, oh, Jennifer Aniston's so beautiful. Yeah. Because I think Jennifer Aniston has like, and she definitely has got plastic surgery, but it's like she's done the perfect amount where it looks like you can tell she's older. Yeah. Ish. but she looks like she's just aged that beautifully versus like this thing of Christina Aguilera looks like a Barbie doll.
It's insane,
and
guys.
it like doesn't look good. It looks good if she was that age, but I think it starts to look bad when you know how old she is because it feels so like robotic almost.
Yeah.
And I do think like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of side effects to that stuff too. I mean, even like people have talked about how Gen Z looks, I've seen not actual articles, but like I've seen TikToks about how people say that Gen Z is starting to look really old.
Yes.
Early because they all started getting Botox at like 19 years old.
Yeah.
And so they've like never had any facial muscles at all.
Yeah.
And so they're like at 25 kind of look like they're 35.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's it's kind of a convoluted thought, but I just feel like it is going to not be seen as like hot.
Yeah, because it's like the extreme plastic surgery, like it has this weird effect where someone who gets a lot of recognizable plastic surgery in an attempt to look younger, it actually makes them look older because you associate plastic surgery with age.
Yeah.
So it almost like does the opposite of it. It's
yeah,
it's interesting. And also like I think for the majority of people seeing like all these celebrities who have like these undetectable, surgeries, they're going to find ways to do that, to themselves that are more cost effective. And I think honestly, the anti-aging industry is going to just take advantage of everyone, like with creams and stuff like that. Like, oh, this is like actually with the Undetectable Era, I kind of don't want any female celebrities to do any sort of Olay ads or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, I would honestly prefer Heidi Montag with her face all, because, what's happening, do an Olay ad, because then I'm like, okay, she's clearly had some work done, and then this is just something on top. Like, if Jennifer Aniston, well, actually, I think she might do Olay, but, like, you're thinking that you're going to look like her.
I think she just Jergens. Maybe she does both.
She does, I know she does a lotion, but, I feel like I don't, now that we're entering the Undetectable Era, I do not want any celebrities doing any sort of anti-aging things at all.
Or even when they do like a similar thing is when they'll do like a couple years ago it was trendy to do like a no makeup look. And like, natural is what's best. And you're having people like J-Lo post this and you're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
This is so much worse for you to be like, than just never posting, like only posting in makeup, to be like, this is me all natural, because it's like, that is absolutely not you all natural.
Yeah.
I just think it's so, wait, what was I just going to say? There's something you said right before that. Well, anyways, I'll remember eventually.
Okay. But in plastic surgery, undetectable results are what we've always strived for. We strive for dramatic results that when you look at a before and after, they're clearly dramatic but undetectable in the sense that if you see somebody walking down the street, you wouldn't notice anything. I think that's the undetectable part, is that it's done so well, so beautifully, that it's to the natural observer, it just looks like a person who's maintained some youth. And with the change blindness, and like thinking about intention behind the undetectable, it is at some point a form of kind of subtle manipulation.
Yeah.
Especially if you're selling a product.
Well, I feel like purposefully. Like I feel like even when they do like I mean, I've never been into a consultation, but I can imagine they're like, and if you do this and then this and then this, it's so hard to tell. Like I'm sure that's part of it, because nobody wants to like go into surgery and come out with a new face, because that would seem really embarrassing. But to do it so slowly. Also, what I was gonna say, I remember what I was gonna say, is that I think something that also people who are not in this industry need to remember is that, like, a lot of these people look nuts in real life. Like, I feel like I didn't really realize that until I took this class one time. I'm going to be very vague about this. I took this class one time and this woman walked in, and I have never thought about someone's looks before I've never thought in my head she looks terrible. But this person looked crazy. I was like, there's a lot happening here. Like, she looked like she was like a caricature of someone that got plastic surgery. Like, and I was like, God, that is wild. I follow her on Instagram later, and I was like, or I went to her Instagram, looked at it. She looked incredible. Like, her photos were so, I was like, God, she's so hot. Like, she looks so good. And I like realized, I was like, she's had her body like done And that's like what she does for a job.
Yeah.
I was like, she's had her body done for photos. Like how like when
Yes.
I was a kid and would have to go do my dance recitals, I would have to put on a bunch of eyeliner
Yeah.
to be like, for the stage. It's like that, but in real life where people are like making their bodies for the camera. Because when I take a photo, like I don't feel like I feel like, you know, sometimes you'll take a photo and you're like, oh, my eyes look way smaller than they should.
Yeah.
Like than most people's are. This looks, because the camera like warps the way that your face looks a little bit. Because it's like turning I don't know anything about this, but it turns like a 2D image into a 3, I don't know. You know what I mean? But I just realized I was like, oh, a lot of these people like on camera look so good.
Yeah.
And if you see them in real life, not bad. Like and this woman was beautiful in real life. You could just tell she like had a lot of plastic surgery.
Yes.
You're just like, oh, like if my receptionist at my bank looked like this, it wouldn't be a thing that would be necessary. Like she doesn't look as good in real life as she probably would have naturally looked.
Yes.
Because she's gotten all this plastic surgery. But maybe if she took a photo shoot, she would look really good because her eyes are really huge and her body's just made for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like so unnecessary for anyone who's not, like these types of surgeries make you look kind of nuts unless you are on camera all the time.
Yes. And I think it's such a nuanced conversation. I like know some people with very extreme body modifications that are not socially acceptable. And I understand, you know, it's like with tattoos or like with hair color, where you take it to an extreme truly is like your own personal individual expression. And the farther you get away from beauty standards, honestly, the more I'm like, that is, you know, that's how you want to express yourself.
Right.
When you start to modify your body to fit beauty standards, that's a whole different story, right? It's like, I mean, I know that no one can escape the male gaze, and I don't know, we're not going to get into it. But like, also the thing is most celebrities, this woman is probably not a celebrity, but most celebrities are also brands and are largely tied to a lot of beauty sort of things. So like, they are at a certain point modifying their appearance for the intention of selling themselves. And so, like, there's so much nuance in terms of, like, class and, like, the type of modification you get. And, like, but yeah, when people take it to extremes, it is a personal choice. But then sometimes you can be like, is it? Because you're not modifying your body in a way that seems to communicate a very certain point of view. Okay, yeah. So, like, an artist, a good artist always has a strong perspective. And so if you've modified your body, like with tattoos or anything or hair, right, and we see you and we see your perspective, yeah, you're like the creator of your own reality. But if your perspective is largely influenced by popular culture, that is a weak artist, right? Like, if you're just copying what everyone else does, your paintings will not be hung in galleries, right? Right. It's a ripoff. And so, like, it's the purpose, what you're trying to communicate to us is quite weak.
Right.
Even though it is your choice.
Well, that's the thing. I think sometimes it's like we get into this place where we can't comment on anything because it's like, well,
yeah,
it's their choice. I'm like 100%. You can do whatever you want. But at the same time, it's also like there is a point where it's harmful to you.
Yeah.
Harmful. And, you know, I guess I wouldn't have an opinion on this unless I was talking on a podcast about it. But I'm like, you know, it is kind of like, if every time a standard changes, you have to go get a surgery, that is really dangerous. I mean, surgery is not good. You should never be getting extra surgeries. They're dangerous. You know what I mean? But I think, I just think there's a point where it gets to be dangerous. Where I think, like, with most things, when they become like an addiction, people feel comfortable being like, hey, too much. But I think sometimes when it comes to stuff with your body, even if it still is having a medical impact on you, people are more hesitant to be like, which I get. Like, I would never tell someone not to get a plastic surgery. I'm like, that is your choice. I would never, like, that's not my business. But I think people are more hesitant to be like, this feels dangerous and maybe, like, therapy needs to happen. You know what I mean?
I have gotten some work done, but it's very minor. I got cool sculpting on my jawline because, like, this is just stop drinking if you have a puffy face. That's the straight up honest thing. But I was still, like, drinking a lot, and then I got, like, my neck fat frozen, and so it helped for, like, a little bit. But the thing that actually helped me, if you want to get rid of the puffiness, is you stop getting drunk, dude. Yeah. But that's just a personal thing. Some of you are like, I drink in moderation. What do you mean? I can't. But yeah.
Yeah, God, I know. Yeah, I think exactly. I think, like, it's such a, but I think what's so bizarre, there's a difference between like getting a couple things. Cause I'm like, you see these posts of people who've like, they're like, I've had this one insecurity my entire life.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's totally fine to fit. Like, or you have these things that I think a little bit is always fine at anything. But I think what's so weird about this time is that people are getting their full faces, arms, vaginas, forehead, I mean, everything done. But it's done in such a minuscule way that you can have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
And also, it would never naturally, like the thing with like cool sculpting, some people do have like a naturally intense jawline. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or like with like Botox, for example, it's like, well, when you're younger, you do have like a fully like smooth forehead or whatever it is.
Yes.
Versus like now the plastic surgery is getting into like, this is how like cartoons are drawn. Like these people, like this is not really a naturally occurring way someone's face is, but we're making it into like the want. Like people want their face to look like this, even though it doesn't even naturally occur in humans.
Yes.
A little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like it does in a couple humans, but it's not like a thing you can strive for without getting surgery. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think like a great group to bring into this is like the trans community. Like if you get top surgery, right? You're getting top surgery because it doesn't feel right to you.
Yeah.
If your motivation for top surgery was, my community is like subtly hinting that I need to get top surgery, or they're telling me the only valid type of non-binary presentation is top surgery,
right.
Then I would step back and be like, is this for me?
Right.
If you do any sort of extreme to the mainstream, like body modification, you really have to sit and be like, is this really for me? Because if you're like, yes, it is. I do want to look like a caricature because I want to dress like a caricature.
Right.
So I can kind of understand. But if your motivation is like, this is what I have to be beautiful and valid. Yeah. If you were a trans person being like, this is what I have to be valid in my transness, that would be, we'd take you aside and be like, dude, what? No. Yeah. This is just supposed to be your decision.
Yeah. I also think it's sad because I feel like this happens so much with really rich people like Christina Aguilera, where it's like it makes the like middle class be like, that's what I want. So like, but they can't have it ever, period, because they don't have access to the same like plastic surgeons. Yeah. Like I feel like you see it a lot with like Gucci, for example, where it's like really rich people aren't wearing Gucci really for the most part. Yeah. But they've marketed it as like, if you want to look really rich, wear Gucci, to people who like can't really afford it. So then these people are saving up and spending their full paycheck to wear Gucci. Yeah. When like really rich people aren't even wearing Gucci. You know what I mean? It's like made for the middle class to spend more than that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I feel like it sometimes can be similar with plastic surgery, where it's like, it doesn't matter how, even if you're doing really well financially, you don't have access to Kim Kardashian's surgeon. Yeah. And they like, you won't be able to get the same thing. Yes. You know, is that true? I don't know. Maybe that's not true, but that's how it feels like to me, where I'm like, we don't have access to what J-Lo has. Like, we will never have that. Like, that just, I could pay all the money I have and it still would not even come close. So you're kind of getting this knockoff version to achieve this thing that like you just can't ever have.
Yeah, I'm reading this book called Bi by Julia Shaw for Bisexuality Visibility Month. Love it, love the bis. And there's a point where she's talking about the importance of representation, which every single community talks about the importance of representation, but truly, and also parasocial representation, interestingly. So like online representation is also important, but it can, representation can positively affect you, but it also, if it's bad representation, it can also negatively affect you. Yeah. And so, like, if you assume, like, having more representation, having actually somewhat healthy parasocial relationships can actually reduce prejudice in you. So, like, imagine if now you're misrepresenting beauty, and there's such a huge divide that's now inaccessible, you're going to actually think that there is something wrong with you or others. And the thing is that message will not just get across to women or girls, it will spread to men, and men are the keepers of
The keys.
The keys.
To happiness.
So we need, plastic surgery, if you truly choose to do it on your own, is fine. But we also need to uplift celebrities and influencers whose faces and bodies move according to gravity.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Everything can feel so black and white. Like, I don't know. I feel like talking on a podcast, sometimes, you get like, you feel like you have to be so clear. And sometimes it makes me sound more confused because I'm like trying to like be clear that like I've thought about getting plastic surgery. Like, I will probably get I don't know if they consider Botox plastic surgery, but I've even thought of getting other plastic surgeries. I'm getting like a breast reduction this year. Like, I am not like, don't ever touch your body because that's the way God made it. That's like not how I'm being at all. But I think there is, at a certain point, it can just be, I don't really know how I was going to finish that sentence. It was something you said and then I forgot halfway through what it was. But my point is just, I'm not saying no judgment to anything anyone wants to do to their body. But I think then there are some things where it can become like anything, too much, too sad. And I think like I've said this before, but when I was like, oh, I want to get like a breast reduction, it was like, I've never been insecure about my boobs, like ever. Like I've never in my life, like I honestly feel like I have great boobs. But I think that made me more sure of it, where I was like, this is not out of an insecurity. Not that that would make it something I shouldn't do, but it's out of like something feeling wrong, something feeling like I'd be more confident. But I'm not like specifically insecure. There are parts of my body that I'm insecure about, and I think I would think harder about getting a surgery to fix those things because I feel like I would be like, well, if I just start fixing my insecurities, and not like insecurities like, oh, I have this one thing that's like really upsetting to me. Like if I just start fixing any little thing I'm insecure about, like where does that end? Yeah. And I think sometimes that's important to think about versus being like, I'm not really insecure about this thing, but it doesn't really feel right, and I think I'd prefer it this way, and it's very specific. Yeah. And I like want to change that. But I think in this industry, it's very hard to stop. I talk about this before, you're always on camera when you're in this industry. Yeah. And it's so mind warping where it's like most people don't have to look at themselves or hear themselves as much as like you or I do. Yeah. Or anyone who's like on camera. And it becomes exhausting to like, there are parts of my body I'm insecure about that I really don't think I would be if I didn't do this for a living, because I would like never notice it. Yeah. Or you like leave your house and you're like, I look so good. Yeah. You're like looking in the mirror, you feel so confident. Someone takes a picture of you and you're like, okay, I look terrible. Yeah. And I think it's like every day for someone in this industry, which can make it like, but it's not. So I think there is also truth to like people in this industry wanting more plastic surgery because their entire job is being on camera. Yeah. Versus someone who's like, then they live in the middle of Michigan and they work as like a firefighter. Yes. And they feel these pressures to get these surgeries. I think those can also be different. No, yeah. I don't even know what I'm saying, to be honest, but you know what I mean? There is a huge class divide, and industry does need to be taken into account. There's actually a second article called Not Ugly, Just Poor, How the Beauty Industry is Widening the Class Divide. So yeah, I mean, the thing is a firefighter very much different than Kim Kardashian? A lot of people think, okay, if a firefighter happened to look like Kim Kardashian, it would still be a completely different conversation because of like class and like the intent behind why you're altering your beauty. Like if you, like an artist has a very strong perspective. They're secure in the message that they're trying to get across, but like insecurity, altering based off of what, like, if you are like, I'm going to look like Kim Kardashian, and you've gotten to an actually genuinely secure place in your perspective, and you know exactly why you want to do this. I mean, you probably wouldn't even reference Kim Kardashian at that point. Yeah. You know, it could fall into the realm of performance piece. It depends on what people have actually, artists are very out of the box, so it could really be anything. Yeah. If you have a strong reason for why you want to do this, and you're secure in that reasoning, and it's not out of insecurity, run face first at it. Go ahead, do it. Yeah. But like if it's for the reason of looking like someone else across class and industry, that is not a secure artist. Okay, that's someone who just, recreates fucking Picasso and sells it to Target. Yeah. You're not, okay, we can just buy a print. We don't need this. Well, and I feel like almost this stuff, with watching these videos of Christina Aguilera, I'm like, this is almost getting into territory of like why I think AI is so detrimental to our society. Yeah. Where it's kind of like your expectation as a human is like, almost like, when I was, like if I watched the Scooby-Doo series and saw the sandwiches they would eat on that show that are like 8 feet tall, and then I went to Subway and was like, why don't you have 8 foot tall sandwiches? Like that's what I should expect because I've seen that and it looks real and I know that I can have that. I think it's like a similar thing with AI where it's like, and this is like the least detrimental thing AI probably does, but you'll see a photo of like an art piece made by a child on Facebook. That's not real. This child's not real. This art piece isn't real. But even subconsciously, your brain heightens their expectation for like what is good art or what is a good decorated cake or what I should be expecting when I go get my kid's birthday cake from Ralph's. I'm expecting this even though this, or even a really good cake decorator. Like someone who's, I can expect this even though that's not real. And I think with like, what's hard with what you're saying about like where people fall in terms of like financial, how much money they have. It's like I think it gets sad when it becomes a norm to everyone in society where they're looking at these people who have millions of dollars of plastic surgery and they're like, this is the expectation. So I should expect this from everyone. This is like beautiful. So if you're less than this, like, you know, you're just less beautiful. Yeah. But to Kim Kardashian or to Christina Aguilera, they can go get any amount of plastic surgery and it doesn't cost anything. But there are going to be people who don't have any money who, I mean, go to great lengths to try to achieve these things and never go on a vacation, never buy a new car for themselves, don't put money down on a house ever because they are getting plastic surgery, which is why I feel like it's so dangerous to make it become something that's expected. I mean, even just like skincare. I think about when I was back in college and I had like absolutely no money and I would still go and put on a credit card like $300 of skincare because I was like so desperate to, it felt like a necessity. Yeah. And when I think about that and I think about how different, I mean, now men do skincare, which is great. But when people talk about having a tax cut for women and it would be complicated, but for the amount of shit they have to buy. Because I think it's like people are like, we don't have to, but it does feel like you have to. It's like you talk about when you go to a job interview, if you're not wearing makeup as a woman, like hopefully things are changing, but I feel like you feel pressure to look nice, have, you know, freshly dyed hair with your whatever, and they will not give you a job if you don't. And so if it starts to become like, well, you have to look the certain standard to be hired at this job. That gets really scary. No, when that standard doesn't exist. Like you can't naturally have that. Yeah, that is true. And you're not supposed to, I mean, ADA laws are super behind. But I look ill without makeup on. And the thing is if I were to show up with, you know, I was like, I show up to a job interview, right? I look sick. And they want to cut some costs without getting sued for disability, whatever. Like they could be like, okay, she's sick, let's discount this, right? Like there's so many things. Like if you haven't had fresh highlights or you've bleached your hair and it grew out. That's what I mean. There's so many. I mean, people. It's like they don't. God, it's just like I don't want to say, you know, gender is very complicated and whatever. But in a very binary world, it's like. I think you hear so many men be like, well, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this. And it's like, you do. You do. There's such a big expectation to even like, you know, when I used to work at a restaurant, I had to do my makeup every morning and my hair every morning. First of all, because they expected you to look presentable. And to them, you looking presentable is this. But also, like, you would get, I mean, there's like so many studies that have been done of like how women are tipped in the service industry based on the way that they're dressed. The way there was one that I read. Hair. The pigtails. Yeah. Where this girl wore pigtails to her serving job and got like 3 times the tips, like sick. Yeah. But it just really, and men just don't think about that stuff like that. Most men just don't really think about that stuff. Yeah. And if men are being influenced by beauty standards and what is beautiful, you may be like the most self-actualized woman in the entire world. Meanwhile, the glass ceiling still exists. Like, you know, like men are pretty much still in power. And then this is actually something about when people always claim pretty privilege online, to claim privilege, you are claiming an identity, right? An identity is political. And to go online and only complain when something does not benefit you anymore is just like a man going online being like, people don't take men's mental health seriously. Meanwhile, you go to their page, they're making a bunch of misogynistic jokes, just chugging beers, ignoring their kids. And it's like, oh, so you have not tried to, even at the bare minimum, leverage your privilege. Yeah. You've not discussed like, you know, breaking down a patriarchal culture. You just are talking. So that's the thing with pretty privilege, right? Like, it's a pretty privilege and all these, like, it's not just sexism, right? It's also fat phobia. It's also ableism. It's also racism, colorism, like gender nonconformity, right? So, like, upholding these beauty standards is, and like at a high social level,
is upholding a lot of systems of oppression, right? And so it's being reinforced by the dudes who are like, you see a woman of color who doesn't have her hair done, you know, which is expensive. And I've also seen the video. It takes like 4 to 8 hours, right?
Yeah,
Do any of us have that? Or plus size women are perceived as like sloppy and
lazy, not put together.
So they have to be so put together.
Right. I've seen so many videos of women who are like, I am fat and here's like my morning routine.
Yeah.
And it's like so long because they're like, anything to not, I have to be so on top of it. Like even down to just like the oils I'm putting on myself so that I even 13 hours later smell amazing because there can just be no faltering in how clean I am. You know, it's like so wild.
Yeah, it's like women can be the thing is like with the binary world, you're either thinking, oh, men are the bad guys and women are the good people because they're the victims. But it's like, no, women can like aid men and be like their, you know, help them perpetuate standards. And that's very like, but it's just.
But people used to be like, I think people used to be like, those are movie stars. Those are like, that's a movie star.
Because they looked real.
They looked real, but also it was like, well, they're so far away from all of us. Like, like I feel like if someone was really pretty, like really, really pretty, you would hear people like, well, they look like a movie star.
Yeah.
But now we've gone into this world where movie stars and like actors and pop stars are all so infiltrated into like our everyday life with social media where it almost feels like we're very much all the same. Like, Taylor Swift also is just hanging out with her cats at home and like and you're seeing them more than just when they're on a TV screen and watching them like make breakfast and look that way. Yeah. Like look so flawless. Yeah. It almost like affects, I think, people who are just like regular, you know, everyday people who are working regular jobs feel this pressure to look that way as well, which I feel like used to not, I don't know, it probably existed in some degree. Yeah. But it feels like you assume because they're doing all these you're seeing them do all the normal things you do, that's just how they normally look. And that's like a normal thing to look like. Yeah. Versus being like, well, I see Jenna Ortega once a year on the big screen. Yeah. And then I never see her again. And mostly I'm looking at other people who just like live everyday lives versus like seeing Jenna Ortega every day on a thing and being like, oh, you're just constantly being thrown these people that look so nuts. Yeah. Like so beautiful, but like
Jenna Ortega looks beautiful. But yeah, it's like
not nuts in a bad way. I mean, like they look like unnaturally beautiful. And I think Jenna Ortega I think she's always been very beautiful, but I just think it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just like not normal to look that beautiful.
Like with social media and like the rate of technology developing with like the internet and stuff, it's like it's like increased exponentially, like gone up this like big old hill. Because if you think about Jennifer Lopez right now, she is the same age as the youngest Golden Girl when that show premiered. Oh.
Okay, reboot it. Have J-Lo in it.
Yeah, and the thing is why that happened is because those ladies were allowed to age. They got sure, those haircuts were not helping. You're right. But they're easily manageable, you know, but like J-Lo, if you were to give her that haircut and those clothes, like women were allowed to age, right? And then one of my like the huge shift I think was Heidi Montag. Okay, Heidi Montag, when she was on the Hills, she looked, you know, fine. And then she got plastic surgery and everyone was shocked when they saw Heidi Montag. You want to be shocked right now? Look up Heidi Montag. And the thing is she looks normal now. Like that, I remember the collective Heidi.
Oh, you're saying now by today's standards, she looks normal?
If you were to look up Heidi Montag right now, you would be like, could be anyone. Right. And I do remember that moment where everyone saw her face and they were like, do you remember that?
No, but I have to look it up.
Like her before and after, the entire of society. And that's like the moment that plastic surgery really started to take off and like trend. It kind of reminds me of like, thankfully, I mean, there's still a lot of fat phobia, but like we're becoming more aware of it. Anti-aging stuff is taking over for like diet culture. But like, remember when Jessica Simpson was a size 6 and everyone thought she was so fat? And if you look up a picture of her, you're like, she is, what is this? And the fluctuating beauty standards, it's like the psychological damage.
Well, right. And it's also so like I was saying before, it's like by the time a normal person can save up to get this stuff, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's so fucked up about it. It's like Kim Kardashian. I know she says she didn't do this, but it's literally so crazy. She got huge butt implants.
Yeah.
I don't know why she's trying to pretend she didn't.
Yeah.
And then it was like all these women saved up their fucking entire salaries.
Yeah.
So they could have butt implants. And then it was like they got them and she had them removed.
Yeah.
Because it was like, well, now that seems like a poor person thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because that's not in anymore, because it used to be unattainable.
Yeah.
And this was unattainable. So it's like now when everyone gets it, and I think it was the same exact thing with lip fillers. It was like everyone was getting lip fillers.
Yeah.
And now everyone's getting their lip fillers dissolved, because by the time they got lip fillers, all the big celebrities got them removed because it was more good to be natural and more,
Yeah.
and it's just like this exhausting cycle.
Yeah.
That it's like, you know, everyone was getting their eyebrows done this way, and now the eyebrows, it's better to look that. It's just so, and it will always be changing.
Yeah.
And I think it's just very unfortunate when you start thinking about the money of it all. It's just
Yeah.
so sad. And even kind of what you're talking about earlier, like, I think one of the most fascinating things is listening to people who are like, who lost like 300 pounds or
Yeah.
something, talk about how, not even like 150 pounds.
Yeah.
They talk about how like, I would have never thought about the way I was treated. Like, I would be like, oh, I want to feel healthier or more confident or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would never think about, it almost feels like if I woke up straight one day
Yeah.
and like lived my life as a straight person for a little
Yes.
bit and was like, whoa, I never realized all the ways people were like treating me. I just assumed everyone was treating me the same they were treating everybody else.
Yeah.
But people when they've lost a lot of weight, they're like, people treat you completely differently.
Yeah.
You get so many more like exciting opportunities, and people come up to you and like want to give you things.
Yeah.
And you're getting free coffees. And like the way that financially over time affects people. And so if the standards, only to bring it back to this, is that like if the standard becomes a level of fitness or thinness that is only attainable by surgery, that is so classist and bad. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just so bad, even just on a financial level.
It is. And I think I'm particularly worried about when people have, this is just separately, any sort of surgery that fucks with bones, like the veneer girls. Because if you cheap out on veneers, they've shaved down your actual teeth. You can't replace those. Or like a bad nose job, you can't, your bridge collapses, like that's going to be, or shave down a jawline. And then I also think about like people who, like the Ozempic crowd, like Ozempic is made for blood sugar like regulation. And so a lot of people would take it and they're like, I feel exhausted. It's like, because you had normal blood sugar levels. If you have normal blood sugar levels, it's gonna make you lethargic. And then it's just like, there's so many things where it's like, yeah, we're all like, the abortion access, right? If it's legal, you can get it, right? But if it's restricted, and so plastic surgery is not like abortion, but it's restricted in that it's reserved for only people with the money.
Yeah.
A lot of people are gonna cut corners, and it's gonna be deadly.
And there's no way to crack it. That's what I feel like people have. It's like, as long as the earth has existed, there's been some medication that people are like, you gotta try this.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, and I'm obviously excluding anyone who needs these medications,
Yeah.
none of it it always will come back and bite you in the ass in some medical way. Or, I mean, I know a lot of people who were on Ozempic and then they like had to stop it, and then they gain triple the amount of weight they had before, because that's not how your body works. You can't just like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
It ends up like really biting you in the ass later, and you have to like, there's just no hacks. There's no hacks to any of that type of stuff.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is just one last thing. But like alcoholism, right? Like a lot of people don't know about transfer addiction. It's very real. Okay, like so no one is like an alcoholic for no reason, right? There's always something above, like some unmet need, something that you're trying to numb. If you don't address the thing that's above your issue, and you like cut out alcohol, you're going to immediately go to something else. A lot of people who get like lap band or like gastric bypass surgery for like some sort of like food disorder, and trust me, I like understand, you lose the weight, but then the thing that happens to a large majority of those people is that they develop an alcohol dependency. Because the addiction transferred, because the baseline thing did not get treated. Yes, you physically stopped yourself from consuming that much, but now you're going to consume liquid. And so that's why alcoholism is such a huge thing. But it's like,
Or it can like heighten the other heighten that same addiction.
Yeah.
I guess with that surgery specifically, it's a little different because you like, can't eat more than that. But
Yeah.
like I know, like Clean House was or like Hoarders.
Yeah.
Famously such like a bad show because these
yeah.
people have clearly something so bad happening, like dark demons they need to deal with.
Yeah.
And someone comes in and just throws all their stuff away.
Yeah.
And cleans their house, and it's like, this has done nothing.
Yeah.
Like, except for like, and I think there is truth to like Band-Aids on problems can be are still necessary sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think there is truth to like, well, this person doesn't have to be living in a house with black mold in it for a couple weeks.
Yes.
Which is beneficial, but it just is pointless. Besides that, there's no benefit. It's just going to come back worse.
Yeah.
Or in a different way.
Yeah. So like if the thing is if you're getting plastic surgery of any time, whether like of anything, right? Like it's small or big, make sure you know the exact reason why. You're secure in that reason, because if it's something artificial, it's like going to be a transfer addiction thing, or it's going to get a lot worse. Like with the Hoarders thing, or the, from the lap band to the alcoholism, or like, crap, what's that? Oh, sorry. What's the thing that I was just talking about? When you get out of rehab, that is the most dangerous time period for like any user ever, because like if you've been in rehab, you've been in a very contained environment and you've been clean, but if you didn't internalize what you learned there and you get out, you're going to overcorrect and it's going to be awful. Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time, but thank you so much for being here, you guys, and listening to this. I think, it's like, obviously it just sounds like we're talking about plastic surgery, but I think there's a connection to like when people, if the plastic surgery, it used to be so obvious. And then you see people like, I look at someone like Emma Stone. I'm like, well, she's so naturally beautiful, which she is. All these people are naturally beautiful.
Yeah.
Everyone is naturally beautiful. But you think, they naturally look that way. That's so wild. And then I remember seeing this video of this person being like, here's all the stuff Emma Stone is, as a person who's like educated on this is all the plastic surgery it seems like she's had.
Yeah.
And the list just goes on. And it's stuff I didn't even know you could do
Yeah.
or get. It felt so, and then because it's slow, it's like, well, Emma Stone's always been beautiful. But then you go back and watch Zombieland and you're like, Jesus Christ, it's like a different person. But it's so slow and incremental that you don't realize. So it's like when you go back and watch the first season of The Kardashians.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for being here and listening. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast, make sure to rate and review. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you, guys.
Happy Halloween.
We're going to put out episodes before, but wish me happy birthday in the comments, too.